Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this month's Windows 365 Ask Microsoft Anything. Thanks for joining and connecting from anywhere in the world, just like you can your cloud PC. So I'm joined today by two awesome guests. One person may look a little bit familiar if you are a Windows in the Cloud listener. Again, I am your host, Christian Montoya. Christian Brinkoff, if you'd like to do a slight introduction for yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. So great to be here. Great to be connected with everybody on the other side of the screen. And I'm Christian Brinkhoff. I'm one of the PMs on the Windows Cloud Experiences team. I've been driving some of the Windows integration work that you will learn more about today, together with Andrew as well. So I'm excited to be here, and looking forward to all your questions.
And Andrew?
Hi, yeah, my name is Andrew Miyasato. I work on the WCX team primarily as a software architect for the Windows 365 boot feature, as well as other management related capabilities.
Perfect. Yeah. So as Christian Brinkoff was mentioning and Andrew mentioning, today we're going to focus a lot on the Windows 365 boot experience. So we have obviously some experts on the call. Obviously, we still want any questions you have, whatever you post in the chat, whether you're joining us from LinkedIn, the tech community, YouTube, maybe Twitter. We want to hear it. So please post in the chat and we'll try to get to those as well. But we want to make sure we also ask those boot questions because we have the experts here. Now, before we get started, I wanted to do just a quick announcement on some of the what's new. We had a lot of stuff come out the past month and a half. So part of that was actually our Windows 365 government offering. We had some great updates there. So one of them is supporting the virtualization-based workloads if you use Hyper-V, Sandbox, etc. We also have there's the link. Yeah, there you go. So you can check out the full offering. And then we also have a new setup tool that makes it super easy to connect your Windows 365 government subscriptions with your commercial tenants. And also, we have a new offering for Windows 365 Enterprise where you can be a government customer, you could be GCC customer, but you can actually purchase Windows 365 Enterprise and use the Enterprise offering and not be tied to Azure government subscriptions. So those ones are that listen to what's new. We have some other features we announced, and maybe we'll get back to those. But I do want to go into Windows 365 boot because we do already have a first question. So let's get right into it. From Jean Joseph, my ideal scenario would be to enable employees to use Windows 365 boot from their home device. For example, if they're sick or would like to catch up on work in the evening. We definitely cannot ask them to convert their home PC to Windows 365 only. So are there plans to allow Windows 365 boot on home devices, possibly if their work account is licensed to Windows 365 or Windows Enterprise?
Should I take that one?
I think you might be you might know the answer.
Yeah, so I can unfold this question in different ways, but primarily what is being asked for, if I understand the question correctly, is to do a boot to cloud from Windows 11 Home, so our more consumer edition of the OS, or Enterprise as well, but then primarily without Intune. So we are looking into the scenario of doing it besides Intune. So today, Andrew and the great dev team that worked on the guided flow scenario, where we will talk more about in just a bit as well, most likely. The configuration will be pushed down to a Windows 11 Pro or Enterprise device. Home is not supported today, but we are looking into those scenarios as well. So expect in the future as well scenarios where you can do an OB experience when you can make the decision, besides Intune as well, and just potentially a direct boot into a cloud PC without any guidance in between too. So we are exploring all those options. So this feedback is very good to receive. So thanks for that. If there are any follow-up questions on this, feel free to.
So yeah, I think the other maybe hidden question in here is there going to be this sort of dual boot option where if it is a person's home PC, they have the option to just launch their regular PC, nothing changes, or if their company has configured it for them, give them the option to boot to the cloud PC. Like, is that anywhere in the scenarios that we're considering?
It's something we are investigating. However, we're also working on Windows 365 Switch, which is a switching experience between a local PC and a cloud PC. So what we did there is we kind of blended the boot to cloud experience with a local Windows 11 experience. So you can use the task view feature for that. So task view is a feature that you can use. Every user will see that on their taskbar unless somebody disabled it for you. And then you can segmentate your local desktops. And with this switch experience, you can also boot straight into your cloud PC from a new tab that we will release soon in there. So that will be the most convenient way to switch between your local PC and your cloud PC, and as well from your cloud PC back to your local PC via the same task view integration. So very immersive and Windows 11 experience. I must say it's not like a client or something in between, like previous virtualization scenarios should force you to use. So that's a great example of switching between local and cloud, as well as working on your local PC if you have to, because you have no internet connection or something like that. We're also working on offline mode there. So that's a more future-looking feature where you can work completely offline when your primary solution is a cloud PC, a boot to cloud PC. So then the offline mode will also show you a PC, but then the local copy of your cloud PC for the sake of, hey, I'm not having an internet connection, right? We are also exploring those options. Hey, what about a dual boot if you log on and you type in your username and password and you boot straight into a cloud PC? What if you can also do it from there? But we haven't decided on a direction there yet. So if there are any needs for that besides Switch, we definitely take that serious and explore those options.
Yeah, that sounds
also,
good. I know that
on a related note, we're also looking into allowing mobile app management through Intune, right? MAM, which would allow for kind of scenarios like this for IT admins to be able to control the data that is coming from the Windows 365 app for scenarios just like this, where IT admins essentially want their users to be able to use their home PCs for connecting to Windows 365 directly, right? And in those scenarios, you want to have the controls you need to make sure your data is safe as an enterprise. So that's something also that we're looking into, kind of related in this space.
Yeah, that's a great point, Andrew, because there's different ways that in this Windows 365 features and those integrations that we're developing, there's different ways that we can segment the personal data from the work or school account data. So that way you as an organization can trust the solution and allow your users to use it. So that's a great point. And actually, going back to kind of finishing up that question, the original question from Jean Joseph. Christian, you were mentioning that it's kind of enterprise driven right now in terms of how to deliver the feature. So how to configure Windows 365 boot. So Andrew, I was curious if you could just give a little bit more flavor on how exactly would an organization configure a device to use Windows 365 boot today.
Oh yeah. So right now, as you know, Windows 365 boot is available in public preview, meaning that in order to use the feature, you should be on the latest Windows Insider build from I believe it's the beta channel from the Insider program. Assuming that your devices are on the beta channel, then you can go to Intune and use our guided scenario there to configure your devices for Windows 365 boot. So the guided scenario acts as sort of a wizard to guide you step by step on the number of pieces that you need to provision your devices well. Like it creates various configuration profiles, it creates an autopilot profile, creates an enrollment status page profile, and most importantly, it creates the configuration profiles specifically needed to enable Windows 365 boot. And after you go through the guided scenario, you just add your device to that group. And then after those configuration profiles sync to the device, your device will be converted into a Windows 365 boot device, and your devices will boot directly to the cloud.
Perfect.
Just to add to that, one thing we did as well is normally guided flow scenarios are only visible in the troubleshooting guide kind of section in Intune. We heard feedback from users that that's not a very convenient way to find things. So what we did there is we created a short link to the guided flow scenario as well with a new UI dashboard in the provisioning Windows 365 section and the devices. So you can just go to there and click on Windows 365 boot, and you go straight into that guided flow that Andrew just explained as well.
Right, yeah, right when you go into the Windows 365 section, because it also has links to other awesome reports. Like I think even the either performance or something, we link to reports because that's also a little bit hidden for our admin. So yeah, it's a great call out that you can go straight to the Windows 365 section and find the flow there. So cool. Yeah, thanks for that. We do have a question from Donna. Will boot work from the will boot work with the new exciting Windows 365 Frontline?
You want to take that, Andrew? I can take the timeline if you want to. But
Oh, okay. Well, right now, it doesn't. It can work, but we are building a better experience. In I guess this is where it comes to timeline. But we are actively working on improving the experience to work seamlessly with Windows 365 Frontline. But it is a core scenario that we are tracking and that we are actively working on. So right now, it can work, but there'll be a better experience soon.
yeah, and just to act on that, so the Windows 365 boot feature, booting into a Frontline cloud PC, that's kind of the experience that we will support, I think soon, and not today, but soon we will add that into the client supported kind of features on the background. The complete UI components that are related to Windows 365 Frontline that you're used to from the web client or the Windows 365 app today for Windows 11 or Windows 10, with the UI showing that you need to disconnect or sign off before somebody else takes over the license, because Frontline allows you to share the license with three different users with shift worker benefits and follow the sun models for license sharing. We will add that completely into the Windows shell. So what that means is that if you log on with your username and password and you have those notifications right now in the web clients and you see those popping up, you will see them in this experience just in the Windows logon screen. So in the interstitial screen where you see connecting to your cloud PC, you will also see those notifications if we have to. So very seamless and immersive with Windows 11, and that's the direction you should expect the experiences in the future coming to life. And Frontline is one of those that comes as first as an improvement on what we support today. So coming soon, we are working hard, Andrew and team are working hard to making this all possible right now as we speak.
So we'll get it tomorrow. Got it. But yeah, just a call out. I know that we posted the little card at the bottom. Windows 365 Frontline is also in public preview. If you're already trying it out, that's awesome. Please keep testing it. If you're interested, please sign up. We want all the feedback we can get across the industries. So just want to call that out while we're here. So one question from Nigel. Do we know if Windows 365 boot will be coming to AVD? I am a partner and provide managed AVD services to many clients. There definitely is a need for an Intune-based, quote, thin client replacement for large labs / classrooms, for example.
Yeah, I can take that one. So the reason, I probably have to take a step back here. The reason why Windows 365 exists is really to bring Windows to the cloud with identical Windows experiences that you as a user are used to log on to Windows every day. So it's called Windows and 365, and 365 stands for the cloud version of Windows, meaning Office, and Microsoft 365 stands for as well the cloud version of Office and other applications you use every day like Teams, for example, as well. So comparing Azure Virtual Desktop with Windows 365 in terms of the features we built explicitly for Windows 365 and Windows in the cloud, creates a confusion and a conflict with, hey, how we position those two products in market and differentiate with experiences that are modern and are not directly attached to VDI or virtualization, which we want to improve and want to make it's the same look and feel as logging on to Windows. So With Windows 365, we created new modern experiences with Windows 365 boot and switch that are identical to Windows 365 and not Azure Virtual Desktop, which is Cloud VDI, and the other one is Cloud PC. So the reason why we are not supporting Azure Virtual Desktop is really that reason. So we want to differentiate with the two products, and we create products and integrations with Windows 365 that are SaaS-based and experiences that are immersive within Windows. And then we have Azure Virtual Desktop, which is the more flexible solution where you can do more things yourself, but you also need virtualization knowledge for that and Azure knowledge and all those expertises that belong to the category Cloud VDI. That's where you should think of the two products kind of in experiences outlined and separated. And with Azure for Desktop, you can use the client, and you can also boot from the client into your Azure Virtual Desktop VM. You can do kiosk mode and other things there, but those really belong to the category virtualization, how it has been used in the past. And with the differentiation of Cloud PC, we differentiate from the IT admin experience. So what Andrew just outlined, the guided flow scenario is a unique experience where we create something seamless, easy for the IT admin. And the end user experience does the same thing. We streamline the experience and create a familiar experience for the user that also belongs to that Cloud PC, Windows 365 bucket. So we don't have any plans to support it on Azure Virtual Desktop today, but we hear this feedback more and we take it serious. So if there are more customers or IT admins asking for this, please keep sharing it. We are exploring those options, but we have no plans to support Azure Virtual Desktop today.
Got it. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Brinkhoff. We have another question. I'm extremely interested in Windows 365 boot as a concept as someone working for an MSP. So thank you, partners. Thanks. Keep asking these questions. And really enjoyed the previous video showing us how to use this. Thank you. I have to ask, how are applications handled when deploying to this? Can these be deployed to the Windows 365 cloud computers using Intune as if it were a physical device? And are there limitations on this? So I feel like I can answer this one. So if I'm reading this correctly, I mean, you're trying to just deploy, you're trying to deploy some of your line of business apps, or, shortcuts, edge shortcuts to the cloud PCs. Then you can do that all through Intune. The whole goal, really, what Christian was mentioning, is that these cloud PCs are, dedicated. These are your personal cloud, your personal device. It just happens to be coming from the cloud. And so that was the whole intent of this tight integration with Intune, is that you can deliver apps through Intune. You could deliver the device configuration policies through Intune. So yes, you could definitely deploy apps. Whether it's the Office apps, whether it's the MSIX apps, any apps you deploy through Intune, you can also deploy to the cloud PC. So that's really by design. Let's see if there's any more questions here. So I think a very related question, more on the physical device for the configuration of boot. We do have a question that is, are Wi-Fi and VPN settings configurable on the boot device through Intune?
Yeah, I can take that question.
Okay.
So yes, they are available, and in fact, they are a part of the guided scenario because that was a core requirement when we were designing Windows 365 boot. We know that enterprises want to deploy both VPN profiles and Wi-Fi profiles. So both of those can be selected through the guided scenario, and you can also deploy Wi-Fi and VPN profiles through like the normal Intune mechanisms. And as long as they are assigned to the device, they'll come down during the enrollment status page portion of the out-of-box experience. For VPN configurations, it's important to note that we support native VPN providers. At this time, we don't support VPN apps that require users to interactively log in during the session. But yeah, they are scenarios that we use and very important for enterprises.
Right, because you're saying that there are some VPNs where you have to log into the local like Windows desktop in order for the VPN to authenticate and get in complete the connection. So you're saying that as long as it can be completed, pre-login essentially, then the VPN should work.
Yeah, so there are like native VPN providers that can be configured completely through Intune policies, and those are supported, and there are no concerns there. There are also some VPN providers that run as background apps that can auto-configure themselves to connect to their VPN servers, and that's also supported. But if they do require interactive login, then those are not, because for Windows 365 boot, the only experience that we want our end users to interact with is the cloud PC on their local device.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yep. Sweet.
Just to add a little bit more insights there. So most of our customers are using Windows 365 as a secure solution to connect to the cloud and remove kind of the risk of losing any confidential data on the endpoint. So primarily we see a lot of customers as well replacing VPN solutions for cloud PCs in general. So think about bring your own devices that normally are getting a laptop shipped with a VPN solution on top, being replaced by a cloud PC with a secure SSL connection and conditional access, MFA, everything that we support, of course, today in between. So we see kind of customers where they are today. They use a VPN solution to allow internet access primarily from that physical endpoint. That is a requirement, of course, because without internet, you cannot boot to the cloud. However, we also see a lot of customers removing off VPN solutions because it's pretty much not necessary to use in conjunction with a cloud PC. We are also looking at ways how we can simplify if you have something like a VPN or network problems in your environment, that we can segmentate the service network from the network that you need for connecting to your backend services and such. So we can always ensure regarding of the ports that you have open in a network and such, that we ensure that the network connection always flows in like to the back end of our cloud services as well. So different ways of looking at a VPN solution is where we are going in terms of the service, but we are trying to simplify as much as we can to mitigate what is still, I think, the number one problem reported to the support department is networking issues, DNS and things like that. And the funny thing is, it's always DNS quote.
Always DNS.
It's always DNS. It keeps going.
Well, you actually just reminded me of a really great point. Because VPNs are, especially when the devices are Intune managed, you may already have these policies, so it might just be natural to ship the VPN to these boot devices. But Brinkoff, as you're mentioning, that we need to be, our admins should be really conscious of what those VPN settings are, just because if you're basically sending all traffic through the VPN, through your corporate network, and then up to the cloud, that's not going to result in a great end user experience, as opposed to if the communications to the cloud PC go straight to the Windows 365 service, that's going to be much better. So we definitely, we have our documentation that shows the FQDNs and or the IPs that are needed if you're using VPN for either end of the connection, either the cloud PC itself or on the boot device or the device accessing the cloud PC. We have documentation there. But I do want to call out, as of last month, Windows 365 supports short path private over managed networks. So that way, if you do have a VPN connection and you actually do have direct connectivity to the cloud PC itself, if you're putting it on your own, bringing your own network, then you can use the short path for managed networks and have more direct connectivity to it. And that way, the actual connection to the cloud PC is going through your network. And so then you get the benefits of UDP, some lossiness. So that way, if packets drop, it's UDP, so it's okay. It's not, the connection's not going to fall over. But that came out last month for customers that really do want to manage the end-to-end networking and have everything flow over a private channel. So that's actually a great point. I'm glad you brought that up.
And one of the things we released as well is if you use Azure firewalling and such, custom FQDNs, right? Maybe you can share more, Christian, on that.
Yeah. So folks that if you are bringing your own network, you do your own network in Azure. You have network appliances, specifically Azure Firewall. You can use these the Azure tags, either the FQDN or the Azure Service tags, and then that way you can specifically allow list the Windows 365. There's also new ones that if you're using some of our partner solutions with Citrix, the Citrix HGX solution, you can select Citrix. Also, there's a tag for Intune. So you can select those tags, and that way any traffic that goes to these services, Azure Firewall will immediately send them over to the service, to cloud services, as opposed to going through the standard networking. So again, that's updated in our documentation in our Windows 365 Enterprise docs, if that fits your scenario. And back to the boot questions. So we have a question from Dan. And I think this might have been related to the previous question I asked you, Christian, is can you use Windows 365 boot to log into an Azure Cloud VM, for instances, with a Cloud PC? There's enough provisioning, processing power, IO, etc. So I think you might have already answered this, but if you want to just...
Yeah, it's the same answer as Azure Virtual Desktop in relationship to Windows 365 there. This even goes a step beyond Azure Virtual Desktop being even more kind of custom and flexible. So no plans for that. We definitely recommend you to take a look at all the other licenses we have. We have a resize feature in place that you can use to resize your cloud PC to a higher SKU size. So if you take the highest SKU size, you also have more disk I/O and throughput as well. So if there's needs for that, which I see in the question, you can try that out and see how that works. If there are any needs for certain workloads you have that are more I/O related and such, we definitely want to learn more. So if you have more insights there, feel free to put it in the comment section, or feel free to DM me as well on the tech community, and then we will report it back to our performance benchmark team to see if we can do something there as well.
Sounds good. So I think this one is a question from Danny. I want to use Windows 365 as a privileged admin workstation, which would be accessed from my Azure djoin standard account, connecting to my Windows 365 PA admin user. Is this use case supported? So can we use them as PAs? So I know that this is something our security team is discussing and talking about. One of the main, as part of Microsoft, we do have guidance on how to set up a privileged admin workstation. I don't think we have the link handy, but we have documentation on it. And we are trying to see how we can give guidance to using Windows 365. The main challenge here is that with this sort of admin workstation, it's all about just in time, basically giving someone time scope privileges, having your regular standard user account, but then when you're trying to perform some admin actions if you're running a service, using the elevated account, that way it's audited a lot more, it's tracked a lot more, you can time scope the access. And so part of this discussion is how do we securely do that, that permission granting, and then logging in from the non-admin account, and then logging into the Azure djoin Cloud PC that is only tied to the admin privileged account. So there's still some discussion going on. I would say that stick to right now what's available in the privileged access or privileged admin workstation account documentation, and we'll see if we have new guidance coming up. So I would just stick to that for right now. Okay, so Andrew, I have a question for you, I think, from Twitter. Is there a way to access the settings on the physical machine once Windows 365 boot is enabled? I have boot enabled, but I'm unable to access the machine's local settings like Bluetooth, display settings, command prompt, etc.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the answer is that for right now, for this public preview release, that isn't an option that's supported. A lot of it is something that we realize is a gap, and it's something that we're discussing actually actively about the best way to enable these scenarios, because we know that there are some settings that make more sense to manage locally on the device. There are some settings that would be great if you could manage them even from your cloud PC. So that's something that we're looking into. But as of right now, for the public preview release, we don't have those capabilities. Christian, is there anything you want to add about that?
Well, yeah, we are investigating different options, the most durable options for the future as well. So, of course, we want to create that immersive experience that I explained in the beginning that feels like, hey, you're just working in Windows 11. So expect, of course, that if you go into Bluetooth settings inside your cloud PC, that you will be able to configure your Bluetooth settings to your Bluetooth device that is like close to you on the physical device. So that's definitely something we are working on. And as Andrew was saying, you expect that in a future release to happen. But right now in public preview, that's not supported. If you have a wireless, a radio USB stick, let's say it like that, and you put it in, you can still work with a USB wireless, but USB driven radio 2.4 gigahertz keyboard and mouse. Same for a headset, or you just need to use a wired one. But we are considering this to be part of the feature soon. So stay tuned for that.
Sounds good. Yeah, so it sounds like whether it's local on that login screen or whether it's inside the Cloud PC session, we're looking at how to enable those settings.
Yeah, that's correct. And one of the things I want to call out is that from the local logon screen, so pretty much the lock screen, local logon screen for Windows 11, you can configure Wi-Fi and accessibility settings. So if you need to, for example, connect to your own Wi-Fi connection at home, for example, or a custom Wi-Fi connection because you have a laptop that you carry along to a different place and you need to connect to like a Wi-Fi at the airport, for example, you can do that from the logon screen in the corner. Just click on it, type in the password, and you're good to go there.
Got it. Cool. Thank you. A question from Joseph. Will Windows 365 work for CAD solutions, or is that better suited for AVD? So, Christian, I think you have historical context on this one, maybe.
Oh yeah. So what the question here is not primarily related to boot. What we did just so this is more like a conversation with engineering. So just to go a little bit beyond what's happening behind the scenes for boot is we're using kind of all the same streaming capabilities that we use for our app as well. So think about multimedia redirection. Think about as well. A Teams redirection, of course, too, that optimizes all the things that normally require a GPU inside your cloud PC to offload that to your endpoint that has those graphical resources to do streaming to give you that local look and feel of video playback as well as Teams, video, audio, and everything like peripheral redirection. So putting that aside, that's more a generic workload these days. CAD solutions like AutoCAD, Revit, SolidWorks, all those applications require a GPU, and cloud PCs do not support GPUs right now. We are actively working on that right now. I cannot share a timeline, but we are working on GPU support, so adding more solutions there in terms of workloads as well as GPU power. And that would automatically then as well flow into Windows 365 boot. So then you can use a boot to cloud PC experience and then use AutoCAD or Revit inside your cloud PC as well as on all the other platforms that we will support with our clients or are supported you are able to use today on all the other platforms. So that's more like a solution that happens in the license and the resources we attach to the cloud PC versus like the solution underneath, like boot or a client or the Mac client or some of the other clients that we are supporting today. So yeah, we are actively working on it. Stay tuned for that. If there's any insights or feedback you want to share more, feel free to iterate on the question you put into the tech community here as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point is that for some of these experiences for boot, for the one we're working with Switch, it really feels like there's there's capabilities of the cloud PC itself, and then there's these really integrated ways with how we access them. And unless we say otherwise, like nothing changes on the cloud PC itself. So if you have the compute power, the access to stuff in the cloud PC, how you get to those, there could be really, really cool integrated ways. But unless we call them out, then everything that's from the cloud PC just works. So
Yeah, I'm also aware that you and your team, Christian, are working on some pretty cool stuff in that direction. We are not allowed to talk about that, but stay tuned.
yeah,
for
no, we
more.
just no, I mean we're working with Boo. Like we want to integrate and light up all these awesome experiences. So however we can do that, especially with these specific Windows integrations and connecting to Windows Desktop, there's a lot of ways that we can make sure we make a really great user experience. So me and my team are invested in making that experience also feel as native as possible. And then what we're doing here with Boot is just making it so that local device just feels, or the cloud PC just feels like local. So we're all working together on that. Okay, so Andrew, I think this one's for you. Do Teams optimizations and MMR work with Windows 365 Boot?
Yes, they do. In fact, Christian just kind of referenced that a few minutes ago, but they do, and they are a core scenario that we see a lot of our users using, and something that we use, in fact, when we use our own Windows 365 boot devices. So it is supported, both of those.
Perfect. Yeah, because I know that typically if you're talking just about the Microsoft Remote Desktop app or the Windows 365 app, like those are just baked into the app, any updates that we have on the client side. So I assume any updates are just with the updated boot and the updated beta builds. Is that correct?
Well, that's actually a good point to raise. So yeah, the apps. So when you use the Intune guided scenario to deploy Windows 365 boot, the applications come from the Microsoft Store, and so when those apps are updated in the Microsoft Store, the apps will also be updated on your devices. So you will receive the latest updates as they come without needing to do anything like redeploy the apps or anything of that nature.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so basically all your users, whether they're boot or not, will get those same updated experiences for those MMR and Teams optimizations.
Yeah.
Sweet. Ooh, I think this also might be another question for you. Does Windows 365 boot support Windows Hello and FIDO key login?
As of now, for the public preview release, it does not. We are prioritizing at this time like the shared user experience, and the shared user experience is one at this time that is more centered around logging in with your username and password. However, we do hear great feedback about wanting to use Windows Hello and FIDO key login, so those are areas of active investigation. A lot of the reason why it's not supported just has to do with how we've originally heard that people want to use their Windows 365 boot devices, and they want less data to be stored on the device. And so some of these authentication mechanisms do need to store more of that data. And so that's something we're still looking into, about how do we meet both of those goals of wanting as little as possible on the device while still allowing a lot of these great security and ease of use features.
Got it. Yeah. Because I know that in Windows 365 right now, for folks, as a reminder, the single sign-on plus passwordless is currently in public preview for Azure AD join cloud PCs. And I know we're working quite heavily on making sure we can support single sign-on passwordless to hybrid Azure AD join cloud PCs. So stay on the lookout for that, because we definitely, like Andrew mentioned, we want to make sure that we offer these new, the methods to log into Azure AD, to log into to Windows. We want to extend that as far as possible on the service side. And then, we'll keep getting feedback for the Windows 365 boot scenario as well. So kind of working on single sign-on all around.
And just to add to that, Windows Hello and YubiKey are things we have working internally. So we are kind of self-hosting that, but we need more time to validate that scenario and do everything before we officially support it as well. So expect expected to happen in the near-term future.
Perfect. Let's see. Another question on Twitter. Does Windows 365 boot support Defender for Endpoint? Can we deploy that to the boot device?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yes, that's even the preferred threat management protection / antivirus and everything we support as part of the Defender for Endpoint service as part of Windows 365 boot. So you can easily deploy that via Intune. The agent interaction with Intune as well, boot all works as expected. So yeah, definitely the preferred as well as the supported option as part of the other Microsoft 365 services we use, and the consolidation of that as part of Windows 365. If you have a custom or third party, I must say, antivirus or other solution, you have to look at whether it supports silent agents, deployment of agents without user interface interaction. Then it will most likely work, but definitely something you need to look into. So therefore, we recommend to use Defender for Endpoint.
Got it. What was? I thought there was one more here. So I think this is actually this goes back to the AVD/VM question, but slightly different scope. Are we planning on supporting Windows 365 boot to log into Windows 365 Business cloud PCs?
That's a very good question. So technically, from the boot to cloud experience from Windows 365 boot, we are not splitting enterprise and business. However, for deploying Windows 365 boot, you need Intune for the guided flow scenario. So today with Windows 365 Business, we also support Intune. So if you have an Intune license, you can use Windows 365 boot for the business product today. However, not every small, medium business is using Intune. So going back to the original question in the beginning, are we working on boot to cloud experiences without Intune? And that's something that's on the roadmap. So that's coming soon, and that would help to do it for business customers, small, medium business customers that don't use Intune. But if you want to do it today, you need to use Intune. So for example, the premium suite could help there, and that gives you Intune or some of the other licenses, and then extend your Windows 365 business organization to Intune, and then use the Intune guided flow, and then you can use it as well for Windows 365 business.
So while we're on the topic, how about government? Windows 365 government. Will we support boot to government cloud PCs?
It's a good question as well. So we just did the work for supporting the Windows 365 app for government. So that's either to be released soon or is almost ready. We need to double check. I can do that if there's interest on the status there, but we are close, or finalize the release there as well. The next step would be supporting the other options we have, like boot and switch and other kind of key features to Windows 365. So that's not supported today, but it will be coming. But I cannot share a timeline there. But think about that. Government will get all the same features we have for Windows 365 for general customers, commercial customers.
Sounds good. Yeah, I just had to ask. It was a natural extension to the business question. Let's see. So question from Theum. Is there a way which I can import? So this is, I think, more of a general question. Is there a way I can import the AVD group policy template, the one that has the screen capture protection? Can I import that into Intune? I tried to import it into Intune and getting a missing namespace error. Is there another way to configure screen capture protection for Windows 365 cloud PCs? So actually, I can take this one. I've been working with some folks on it. So I think I understand the import issue that you're talking about. We are working on having the that ADMX, essentially the file itself is like terminal services -avd.admx. We're working on having that be just available in Intune. That way there's no custom imports when there's updates to this ADMX file. This is available for for you to configure as Intune admins. Once we release the update. So we're working on that. It should be very soon. That's available. And again, that way through the import and having it available in settings catalog, it'll be available for you to configure the screen capture protection on both Azure DJoin Cloud PCs and also hybrid Azure DJoin Cloud PCs. So stay tuned on that. Stay tuned on the what's new for that, because that'll be really cool. Otherwise, it is a sort of more manual process, or perhaps like a PowerShell remediation script to set the local GP setting. So right now it's a little bit manual, but very soon we should have this for you in Intune centrally, so you don't have to deal with the importing the settings. Oh, okay. So this is a good question. I think Andrew, I think this is for you as well. Can I disable Windows 365 boot and go back into normal Windows shell mode? And if so, what are the steps?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so we have found that there are scenarios that may require this, and so it is something we've thought through. But in order to essentially disable Windows 365 boot, all you need to do is unassign. Well, in this case, if you went through the Intune guided scenario to configure your devices for Windows 365 boot, all you would need to do is remove that device from the group that all of those configuration profiles and applications were assigned to in Intune. And if you remove the device from that group and then you sync the device, then it will be removed from Windows 365 boot and you'll be able to access the local desktop as normal. If you applied it through other means, like through Intune, but just through maybe the settings catalog, you would similarly just need to remove the policies associated with Windows 365 boot. Primarily, the two are in the cloud desktop CSP. There is the boot to cloud mode setting, and then also in the Windows login CSP, there is the override shell program node. So for both of those, you would need to remove those policies, and if you do, then the device will go back to booting to the normal shell experience.
And maybe it's related. Is this also something that is going to be more toggleable, if that's the right word? Is this something that we're looking at when we're looking at the non-Intune version, where it's something that either a user could toggle out of, or also the admin could do the opt-out?
It is something that we're looking into pretty strongly, because we know that there in the future, or even now, there are a lot of scenarios that would require it. So it's something we're looking into, but nothing to talk about in terms of timeline.
Sounds good. And I guess on a related note with boot is, how do Windows updates work with boot, and can we use auto patch with the boot devices?
Yeah, super great question. So, as a part of the Intune guided scenario, if you use that, one of the pages as a part of that experience does allow you to configure your Windows update settings. So, when you configure it through the guided scenario, those settings are translated into a Windows update ring configuration profile that is deployed to the device during the out-of-box experience. So primarily through that configuration profile is how you would control the Windows updates that are received on the device. And if you have additional configurations or changes you want to make after the guided scenario, you can always find that configuration profile in the standard Intune blade that you would normally modify those Windows update policies. Windows Auto Patch is also something that is supported through Windows 365 boot on the local device. All you would need to do in that case is you would need to, of course, make sure your tenant is already configured to use Windows 365 Auto Patch, and you would assign the devices that are configured for Windows 365 boot to also be managed through Windows Auto Patch. So Auto Patch is, again, supported, and Windows Update is, if otherwise, Windows Update is controlled through these Windows Update configuration profiles in Intune.
Got it. Sounds good. And then also so the auto patch, do you have to do that separately, or is that available in the guided flow, the guide scenario?
Yeah, today it is something that has to be done separately. The reason being is that there are some complexities in how you set up your Windows auto patch environment, like how you opt into the experience. So for now, it's something that you would need to do manually, though it is something that we are actively exploring about how to make that experience a lot easier. Like maybe an option in the guided scenario is something that we've been actively looking into. But for now, you would need to remove the active Windows Update configuration profile from that group, and then target that group with Windows auto patch.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. Okay, cool. So we have about 10 minutes left, but I want to make sure we get to a few questions from Twitter and the tech community about some roadmaps. So again, if we have information to share, we have it. If not, we may not have information. But I want to get to these questions. So one of them is, are there any plans to implement boot for Linux, GDM? I'm not sure what that means, or the Mac OS login pages, aside from just Windows?
Yeah, I can take that one. So first of all, Windows 365 boot is Windows focused, so that will be an experience you will only get from Windows. We have partners like Igil Technology that we work closely with that do offer you a Linux OS and as well a plug and playable OS on older hardware you have to connect to Windows 365 as well as AVD. So we are partnering with Igil to allow you to connect to a cloud PC from Linux. So take a look at their website if you're interested in using that. Otherwise, you should consider using Windows 11 for Windows 365 boot. We are exploring options how we can use the Windows 365 boot experience on other operating systems as well, like Windows 10, but nothing to share there right now. We also work on our other applications on other platforms. So as you know, we support the remote desktop app on Mac today. We also are working on our Windows 365 experiences on all the other platforms. So that's something that you should look out for at our roadmap page and such once we are ready to share more there. But consider all the platforms to get the same unique experience that we offer for the Windows 365 app for Windows. And the great thing there is that once we support that, you can configure on a Mac applications that you download from the App Store, as well as in a kiosk mode experience. So we heard more customers asking for, hey, what can you do on an iPad to boot straight into a cloud PC? Of course, we don't own the iPad operating system, but we can deliver an application on top of an iPad that you can configure in kiosk mode. And then once you turn on your iPad or your MacBook, it opens the application directly, and then you can connect to your cloud PC. So that's kind of a direction you should look at in the short term that comes close to an experience like that. But of course, the premium experience is something you will get for Windows, and then you should use Windows 11 today for enabling those devices.
Got it. Cool. Okay, thanks. Another roadmap question we have is, when will I be able to brand the logon screen with my own company logo? So I think there's an if, and then if so, when?
Well, we did add the Windows 365 logo to the logon screen, so we are exploring what we can do there to replace that logo for a custom logo. So the entry point is already there. As you can see, the Windows 365 logo showing up. So yeah, stay tuned for that as well. So that's great feedback to hear, and yeah, we definitely hear that more, especially from like healthcare organizations that want to show, hey, I'm logging on and I know, okay, I'm logging on to something that is my company device or my company tenant, just like generic share PC scenarios like Ting clients and such support that today as well. We are exploring those options as well.
Yeah, and we also had a lot of MSPs and partners, at least adding some questions early on in this one. I know that that's one thing they love to offer is the customization, the personalization for their customers. So I'm sure we're getting a lot of those, and excited to see, if or when we do this one. Okay, so I think we have a couple more questions before we close out. So last year, we announced the Windows 365 app, switch, and boot. So I think they're asking which ones are available now, and just where are we now with all of those?
I can take that one as being one of the PMs driving it from the beginning. So Windows 365 app is available today. It's GA. It's available on Windows 10 and Windows 11. You can download it from the store, so the Microsoft Store, which will be the replacement for the Windows Store for Business that's coming up rapidly. So go use that, of course, too. You can support deployments by Intune of the app to like large enterprise size endpoints like bulk manners of deployments and such as well. So please consider doing that. We're also exploring options to deploy the app separated from the store, so stay tuned for that. We recently shipped a new feature in the app called Pin to Taskbar. So you can now pin your favorite cloud PC from within the app to the Windows taskbar. So of course, with boot and switch coming up, I prefer those experience myself better. However, those experience like Pin to Taskbar also work on Windows 10. So if you have a device that is not upgradable to Windows 11 yet, or you're not ready to do so, you can also use the app plus Pin to Taskbar to go fast with single sign-on experience into your Windows 11 cloud PC, for example. Yeah, go ahead.
And then also, I didn't have it at the beginning, but there are 2 new features that came into the app in the past month. The dark mode, right? We love that setting. That's my favorite. I love dark mode. And also the multiple monitors. So you can decide to use just the primary monitor you're on or all monitors. So anyways, I want to plug that in while you're talking about it.
No, that's great. Yeah, dark mode is now supported. So it supports the Windows settings, of course. So you can, if you have dark mode local on Windows, it takes it over from Windows, but you can also do it in the settings menu in the corner to just override if you have light mode local, that you have dark mode in the app, and vice versa, of course, too. The settings menu is now also supported. So if you click on the 3 dots and you go to settings, you can change from single display or multi to single. And we also work on more customized controls there. So create a different layout of your displays as well, and things like that. So that's coming up, as well as a feature in the app. So just coming back to your original question, so the app is supported in GA. Pin to Taskbar is also available in there. Boot is currently in public preview. Switch is currently internally in what we call self-host. So we are actively working. That's how it works in Microsoft. We first test our services, our products internally, and then we go to customers. And that's coming up soon. I cannot share that outside Microsoft, but we are close to ready. So stay tuned on the roadmap page for Switch as well.
All right. Well, one last question, and very fitting for this topic, if we can answer it. When will Boot go GA?
Well, that's a good question, and a question that is always in a relationship to how the service, how the feature is doing in market. So we are relying on customer feedback before we go GA with our features, as you know, Christian, as well as being a PM. Customer driven, everything is without customer satisfaction, we are not shipping anything in GA. And that's the reason why we have public previews, because that allows us to go public without going to a full kind of supported kind of GA product to learn and try it out. And then once everything works and everything is working as expected, let's say it like that, we declare the service, the feature GA. And that's always dependent on the amount of customers, the feedback we get, the bugs that are reported and being fixed as fast as we can. And things are going very smooth, right, Andrew, being one of the devs on the team. So expect that things not take so long, but we are working on different things on the background there. So please keep the feedback going, and as much as feedback we can get, and how less feedback we get on the performance or the bugs, how fast we can declare this feature GA.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
All right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to reiterate what Christian was saying, that the feedback is the most important, both positive and negative. We want to hear the use cases that matter to you, the features and the capabilities that matter to you, because we want to make sure that when this product does go to GA, that it is something that is of a quality that both we at Microsoft are proud of, as well as that our customers will be able to use and feel that it is something that meets their needs. So really, just want to stress that feedback again.
Cool. All right. Well, again, thank you both, Angie and Krishan, for joining and talking about Boot. For everyone on the call, thanks for listening. Try it out and join us again next month for the Ask Microsoft Anything. Have a good day.
Thanks, Christian.
Yeah, thank you.